Well, hello, my name is Roland Waterman, and I am filling in today for Pastor Jeff Peterson. And the program you're watching is called Connect. And this week's program is a follow-up to the previous week. So let me mention something about that first. If you missed last week's program, I would encourage you to go to KFXB's homepage and go to their YouTube account and look that video up and watch it so you can get the full story and catch up with where we're going to really be starting off with today. And I want to introduce the two people that are sitting next to me in case you did miss last week's program. And next to me is Brenda Brown. Brenda is the Iowa Prayer Caucus Director.
Yep.
Correct. Okay. And she is in Des Moines, and she leads the prayer meetings at our state's capital. She has a tremendous ministry there, impacting and affecting what goes on in the decision-making processes at our state capital. And next to Brenda is Mark Kargol. Mark is a teacher at Iowa State University, and he also is involved in campus ministry. And Mark is the 9-state coordinator for what is coming up in September called Awaken the Dawn. And this is not only a every state event on state capitals, but it's also hundreds of college campuses all over America. So you're going to be hearing today both from Brenda and from Mark about what you can do to tell other people about this, especially if you are someone my age, let's say, and you have children or grandchildren, and especially if they're college age, to make them aware of these events that are taking place perhaps on their college campus as well as at our state capitol. And the dates of this is September 27th through 29th. So to get us started today, I want to have Brenda start first by sharing a little bit about the Awaken the Dawn event that took place in Washington, D.C. last year. We'll show you a video clip and then we'll come back to you. But Brenda, what happened in Washington, D.C. last year?
You know, it was amazing. There were 58 tents in on the mall at the Washington, D.C. And it was so amazing because there were so many people that showed up. Mm-hmm. They say that online there were 4 to 5 million people watching the event.
Wow, I was.
Yeah, it was just amazing. And so just the view of all of that, there were many, many, many people that went to every tent, that prayed, that worshiped. There were 5,000 documented, I want to say the testimonies, healings, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Salvations. Yes. The salvations were amazing. I know for me, I prayed a lot, but I didn't go out and see those. I know if you go to the Awaken the Dawn website, I know they have some of those. So it was just it was very empowering. I remember looking at the tents and seeing all of those tents down the mall, and I was just at awe. And one of the things that really caught my heart was the desire for each tent to be supported. And the one tent that really caught my eye I want to say it was West Virginia, that had youth only. They were the only ones there really praying and worshiping. And that said so much to my heart. And so I feel like this last year, it was just a very small view of what God is wanting to do in every state this year.
Yes. So these tents, each state had their own tent there and had people from that state that were in the tent, and they were worshiping and they were praying. And they were praying for the nation, they were praying for our leaders, they were also praying for people that needed prayer. And we were talking earlier about all the testimonies you had of people that were healed and people that met Christ for the first time, that were introduced to him through the people in those tents. But there was also some outreach in Washington, D.C., was there not?
There was a ton of outreach, and I think that's where the 5,000 come in, as far as the testimonies of salvations. And that number could be greater. I don't have specifics on it. I know I remember seeing it, but I don't have it in my memory today. But yes, they did outreach, and it wasn't just that was homes, that was businesses, that was on the street, that was even in the area. People got curious, what is going on at the mall? And coming and finding out, and just they were impacted. There was music, there were speakers, so there was just a lot of people to come in and speak about just what was on their heart for America. So.
And you mentioned in last week's recording, Brenda, that on that Saturday night in Washington, D.C., that this was going on, there was no crime committed.
No violent crime.
No violent crime.
No violent crime, yeah, which to me is a big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was no violent crime in the city that night, and it was quiet. We prayed and worshiped that night, and we were one of the groups that stayed through the night that Saturday. And what a blessing to be able to hear in the distant tents the different prayer and worship, and then us, just us and the Lord. And it was just, it was just really impacting.
I want you to, I'm a dreamer. I love to dream. I like to imagine big things because we serve a great big God. And I think God thinks big, if you would agree with me on that. But I'm thinking big now, because I'm thinking if you take those numbers, those 58 tents that were on the Washington, D.C. Capitol Mall, and if you take the roughly 5 million viewers watching on Facebook Live or on YouTube, and take the 5,000 or 6,000 salvations, multiply that times 50.
Yeah.
I just was doing that in my head. Multiply that times 50. Just imagine that we reached 30,000 people in 3 days across every state in the country. Just imagine that youth, especially the young people, were touched by the presence and spirit and power of God, and their lives changed because of that. And so I'm hoping you're going to get excited about this with me. We want to take the next 4 minutes to show this video clip again from that event in Washington, D.C. last October.
To gather not around just a speaker or a platform or a well-known celebrity Christian, but they gathered around the presence of God, and God did remarkable things. What just happened on the National Mall was actually unprecedented. 58 tents covering the mall. There was one tent for every state, and the nation mobilized together. Over 1,600 worship and prayer teams from every state in America came together for 4 days. It was 24-hour worship, music, prayer, and proclamation of the gospel. And the atmosphere of Washington, D.C. was shifting during those 4 days. It was one of the busiest weekends of the year, Columbus Day weekend in Washington, D.C. Hundreds of thousands of tourists come together, and they were walking onto the National Mall past tent after tent after tent after tent after tent, and tens of thousands of people were confronted with the love of God. This was a bold, audacious, visible expression of Jesus' worth at the center of our nation. We're hearing stories right now of the power of God responding to the prayers of the saints. One lady was running an ice cream truck, and she was selling ice cream and telling everyone about what was going on at the event and sharing Jesus with them. And 53 people just from the ice cream truck gave their life to Jesus. One girl I met just recently, she was at the gathering, never experienced worship like that in her entire life, was deeply being touched by Jesus in a very personal way, but she had scars all over her body from self-harm. And one night, speaker Todd White stands up and says, God is going to heal people from wounds related to self-harm. And he says this, and all of a sudden she feels the presence of the Lord. She actually feels like a hand on her back. And she looks at her scars, and the Lord had taken away all of her scars. We're hearing testimonies from people in places of power. They had encounters with Jesus, gave their life to him, got saved, and experienced God touching them in remarkable ways because the atmosphere of Washington, D.C. shifted. We saw teams in regions finding one another. In fact, in various states, we're hearing the stories now that they met each other at Awaken the Dawn, and now gatherings and movements and expressions of worship and prayer are being birthed all across America. This was a staging ground. It was never an end game. Imagine with us what America will feel like if there were 3 days where there were tents in every single state and hundreds of campuses, and the kingdom of God, His beauty and His worth was filling our nation. We are going to tent America in 2018. This is going viral. We need you to stand with this movement right now. A couple of ways you can stand with us. Number one, get on awakenthedawn.org, sign up for Tent America. Number two, we need to raise $1 million in 2018. We are looking at a gathering of the praying, worshiping, creative, God-loving people across this nation that really has never happened like this before, and it will touch millions of people. It's a rescue mission to a generation. We have to have a third great awakening. We're asking you to stand with us financially so we can release the national sound that calls America together, not around Awaken the Dawn, but around Jesus' beauty, around Jesus' word, and the presence of God. Jesus is orchestrating something in our nation. What if millions got saved?
Well, there you see it. Now, maybe you were watching last week and saw it, but you just got to watch it again. But if you're seeing it for the first time, can you grasp the impact that this had, not just upon the city of Washington, D.C., but upon the nation and upon the people that participated? And there was people from our church that went to this, and they said they met so many people and made friendships and connections with people from other states. What an exciting time for the people of God to come together. And so we've been talking about the meeting. I'm going to start with the Capitol, the gathering at Iowa State Capitol on September 27th through the 29th. I'm going to let Brenda share about that, and then I'm going to have Mark share with you about what's going to be happening simultaneously at college campuses all over the state.
Okay, we will be having a 20 by 40 tent to hold the musicians and their equipment, and it will be on the south lawn, and there will be plenty of room to bring a lawn chair to set, but it'll be bands from all over Iowa.
Yes.
Right now, if you are a worship band, somebody who does praise and worship, we would love to have you sign up. It is on the awakenthedawn.org website, but we'll need people to help. The long and short of it is we will have praise and worship, and that is the big thing. We will have outreach. Those who want to go out in our community and reach out and pray with people and just talk to people. You know, even if you just go talk to somebody and ask them, you know, hey, how are you? You know, right now we've become a generation of cell phones, and we have forgotten the importance of people and their and who they are and how they're feeling, what's going on in their life, and just reaching out to our community. And so I see that we'll have a gal there that she will just have a group of people that are going to be praying for the Awaken the Dawn people that come up and need prayer, people that want to pray for the state, the nation, our youth, just people in general. We invite you to just come and spend time with us. So that is what we are looking at right now. From 6 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, we will be on the lawn. And then from 11 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the morning, we will be at the Elam Church, which is on the north side of the Capitol. So it'll be 50 hours of praise and worship and just community. We want to grow community, grow people, relationship. I think the big piece is that relationship, and awaken our community, awaken the young people, awaken the older people. Yes. To reach out. So many people don't think they have a purpose, and God made us each. He created each one of us with purpose.
Amen.
So
that's awesome, Brenda. Thank you. That inspires me. And you know, the thought occurs to me, I encourage our people at church every day to ask at least one person, is there anything that you need that I could pray for you today, and to pray with the person right on the spot. I think if we as Christians would do more of that, I assume that you're watching, if you're watching this, you are a Christian, and you know, God wants to use you in the marketplace, the grocery store, the workplace, wherever you're at. Opportunities are there every single day. So with that said, so while this is going on the Iowa State Capitol grounds, at the same time, during the same 3-day period, on college campuses all over the state of Iowa, there's going to be similar events, worship and prayer events and outreach events going on college campuses. And so for that, I'm going to ask Mark to share with you about what that's going to look like.
Yep. So we are doing essentially the same thing that's happening at the Capitol on the campuses. We're going to have a tent on the campuses. We're looking for people to adopt campuses. Whether you're a student, a ministry leader on those campuses, a community member, if you have a heart for that campus, we encourage you to go to awakenthedawn.org, sign up on there. We'll get you in touch. They'll get you in touch probably with me, and then I'll be contacting you to help try to make that happen. What we're trying to do is see as many college campuses across the state, across this nation, have a tent for those 3 days where prayer and worship and outreach can be can go out from there and reach those campuses. It's so important that these college students hear the message and understand, you know, the plans and purposes that God has for them.
Amen. You know, I just want to speak to parents and grandparents for a moment. I remember hearing this statistic. It's a true statistic, a proven fact, several years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, that at that time, they were saying that 82 to 85% of young people who were raised in church, raised in Christian homes, that within one semester or 1 year of going to secular college, they no longer believed what they were raised by their parents and by their church to believe. Because there's so much influence. I'm not speaking negatively now about college campuses or teachers or professors. I'm just saying this happens. And as parents and grandparents, we lose our grip once our kids leave home, whether they go off to work or go off to college. And wouldn't you think it was really significant to have a ministry on that campus that your young person, your child, your grandchild is going to be going to, have a ministry there that's going to reach out to your young person? Well, these outreaches that we're doing, called Awaken the Dawn, on every campus that is willing to do this, is going to help bring young people, especially freshmen especially, have got to be reached the first year, because they're the most volatile to this influence. And so just imagine if you got behind this, if you supported it in your community where there's a university or college, if you talk to your young college age person and said, would you look into this, would you get involved? Or if you know a campus ministry and you know some people that are involved in those campus ministries, direct them to awakenthedawn.org so that they can find out about this and get on board with it. So, Mark, you had mentioned earlier that you have about a 59-second video. And when would you let me know when you think it would be a good time to play that?
Right. So the video is just talking about how important the college campuses are to churches and to God's working in America and how it's played out through the history of America. So this would be a great time to show that.
Yeah, you know, before we do, you mentioned that many of the previous movements of God's Spirit in this country began on college campuses.
Right.
So this is significant. So watch this video with us for just a moment.
From the Circuit Riders to Martin Luther King's Freedom Riders to the 1970 Asbury Revival, college students were on the forefront of a sweeping national revival in America.
college students have always played a pivotal role in societal change and transformation. We believe that once again, college students are being called to be on the forefront of a great sweeping revival that will cover the campuses once more.
It's time to take our place.
We're asking that you join us. September 27th to 29th, we are going to join hundreds of college campuses in tending their campuses with non-stop worship and prayer. And we believe that it is time for the college students of America to take their place once more. If you're interested, join us. Sign up at awakenthedawn.org.
Okay, Mark, would you like to make comment on that?
Right. So as you can see, pretty much every outpouring that America has seen has started on campuses. I believe there's one that wasn't, but they traced it to the praying mothers. Yeah. So it's just been a very significant time. You know, these are the youth that are going to be the leaders of America.
Yes.
As they age and as they graduate, they're going to move into positions where they're going to be leaders in America. And this is such a important time in their lives to really grab hold of that purpose and destiny that God has for them.
Yes, and Mark, again, we're directing people to go to the national website, which is awakenthedawn.org. But there is also in Iowa, an Iowa Awaken the Dawn Facebook page that you can search out and follow what's going on as we're making the preparations for this. You can follow that on Facebook as well. And are they able to contact you directly, Mark?
Yes. I believe you are also on there.
Yep.
So we have several people. The leadership for the state of Iowa all receive the messages on there. So we will, if you message us through the Facebook page, we will receive that.
Okay. So there you go. You can contact Brenda or Mark through the Iowa Awaken the Dawn Iowa Facebook page and let them know that you're interested, that you need more information, which again you can go to the national website awakenthedawn.org, or will your phone number, email address also be available to them? You can contact them through their email address or through their phone number, which will be posted on the screen here. But I want to come back to Brenda for a moment. This is only your second time maybe to do something like this, Brenda?
It is.
It is.
I did the National Day of Prayer, and it was just amazing. The Lord showed up. It was so precious in May, and then I went to the Awaken the Dawn last year, and now this. It's just like it's there.
Yep.
So we're working with it, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot of things.
Yep.
Things that we can do different, things that we didn't think of the first year. But this is it. We're gonna take a try at it and see what God does, because really this is His thing.
Yes,
we just show up. Show up.
You know, I want to say this to those of you that are watching this, because I hadn't thought about this, but you know, this is a multi-denominational outreach. It has nothing to do with denominationalism. And I think about the Old Testament, how many times, there was 12 tribes. Israel had 12 tribes, and yet God would gather them all together in one place to let the leader, the prophetic person, or the leader of the whole nation of Israel speak to all groups. And so regardless of your denomination, regardless of what your faith is, this is for everyone who calls on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. So again, we're encouraging you to get more information if you need it by going to the national website, contacting Mark, contacting Brenda. But here's the thing. Talk to your college-age students, talk to your children, and get this message out. This is a national movement. This is a national movement. It could actually create the future of our nation. And I think you would agree with me, we're all concerned about that. So any closing words, Mark, that you'd like to say?
Yeah, so you asked about a story earlier. When we were at the National Mall, Iowa had a fairly small contingent compared to many of the states. So we, at the end of time period, we had pretty much all of our people went back to the hotels to rest. I was walking the mall, and many of the other tents had decided to extend their worship. And I got to the Iowa tent. When I got back to the Iowa tent, the light was on, and there was a group of about 20 young people from Texas who had been there the whole week, and they had been praying at all the tents, and they said Iowa just kept being highlighted.
Wow.
And when they walked by the Iowa tent and the light was off, they looked at each other and said, let's do this. And so they jumped in there and took over and were praying and worshiping there.
Yeah.
For the state of Iowa. That's awesome. Brenda, any closing comments?
We just welcome you. Whoever can come, we want to commune with you. We want to just spend time with you and with Jesus. And I just encourage you to come out and see what's going on and talk to people and outreach. Outreach is so big. Right now, so many of us don't know what that looks like, and we are just encouraging outreach. So just come.
You know, can I comment on that? Because I'm an outreach person, and I find with people that I've worked with in outreach, whether it's door to door or work in a fair booth, people are uncomfortable doing this in their own community where people know them. So just imagine coming to Des Moines, which is a very big city and where nobody knows you, and going out with a small group or a team of people and just greeting people on the street and making conversation with them. And you say, well, I don't know how to do that. Well, you don't have to know how to do it. You just have to show up and have a willing heart and have a desire to see God touch people's lives. Because part of that outreach is not just presenting the gospel of Jesus Christ, but it is praying for people right there on the spot. So I want to thank you for being with us today. I hope you got a chance to see last week's program. If you didn't, go to KFXB's website, find it and watch it. But most of all, mark your calendars, September 27th through September 29th, Des Moines and college campuses all over the state. God bless you.